And welcome to Recovery Report Live. I'm Dan Odess, president of GlobalPro, where we manage risk to recovery. And for 11 years, we have represented thousands of policyholders in more than $1 billion in recovery and thousands of placements of insurance. If we can help you with your insurance needs, let us know. We have offices throughout the country making sure that people are on the ground when you need us most. So whether it's following a disaster or you're planning a renewal, let us know how we can help you. Believe me right now, there's a lot of funny things going on in this industry that don't really add up and certainly don't protect your interests as policyholders. Some of those things that we want to talk about is there was recent public testimony that was provided. I wanted to highlight it here on the show. After 11 years of GlobalPro serving the interest of the policyholder, we have some actionable information about what is really going on behind the scenes with these insurance companies. First of which is that through a public records request and testimony that was provided in the state of Florida, from 2017 to 2022, there was over 105,000 consumer complaints filed against insurance companies. Now, a lot of the legislative effort right now is to curb your rights to or access to representation. They're curbing your access to representation by doing various different things, making it so that representatives, public adjusters, loss consultants, or attorneys are disincentivized or can't afford to practice, or there's no financial incentive to actually provide these services. Because we all are businesses, so are insurance companies. And I'm not saying that insurance companies shouldn't make a profit. I've never said that. What I can't understand, though, is that when they make profits, they allege they're losing or going bankrupt, and that it's the cause of so few representatives that are working on or advocates on behalf of policyholders that are causing these issues. And conversely, from the 105,000 consumer complaints filed from 2017 to 2022, there is less than 100 filed against public adjusters. Public adjusters, again, being one way to get advocacy, someone fighting on your behalf to make sure that you get your full benefits of what you're entitled to under your policy. There's also attorneys, or sometimes people will hire consultants. But really, prolifically, most of our legislators have spent an enormous amount of time advocating against public adjusters on behalf of insurance companies' special interest groups. But what we can't figure out is that if the consumers aren't complaining about it, then how is it or why is it that the insurance companies are? When it's clearly the dissatisfaction that's growing amongst consumers, which have the largest voice and have the largest amount of complaints, the 105,000 plus complaints filed against insurance companies. Now, we have highlighted in prior episodes Value Penguin report that showed a massive growing amount of dissatisfaction amongst consumers when dealing with claims. More than 60% of those that suffered loss had complained about dissatisfaction about the handling of their claim by insurance companies. Over 105,000 complaints filed from 2017 to 2022. Why is that important? Because 2017 was Hurricane Irma. 2017 to the present, 105,000. In that same period of time, less than 100 filed against public adjusters. And you see the state of Florida, and you see what's going on here as well as in Texas, and the massive amount of resources being invested by insurance companies in lobbying against your rights to representation. And I pick on Florida and Texas because, quite frankly, that's where you see most of these major disasters occur, and also a higher concentration of people like myself, licensed to represent your interest, that are being pegged as locusts and parasites based on the CFO, Mr. Petronas. He stated that, Mr. Jimmy Petronas stated that locusts and parasites are flocking to the areas that were impacted by Hurricane Ian, and beware. He didn't give any sort of credibility to the vast majority of licensed professionals, whether public adjusters, contractors, or attorneys, that practice in good faith, that provide a valuable service to policyholders. No, in fact, he painted these entire industries as locusts and parasites, and continue today in the legislature. You see the fallout of comments like those and the sentiments that many of these legislators have for public adjusters, attorneys, and contractors, despite having very little experience or actual real concrete evidence of these issues going on. They pick on one or two cases here and there. They talk about percentages but don't give us the dollar values. The dollars matter most. I don't pay for insurance with percentages. I pay for insurance with dollars, right? So it's really important that when they're giving percentages, the amount of increase of litigation or the amount of litigation in Florida versus other places and the amount of this and that and whatever it may be, talk about the dollars. And the one thing I can cite to is a very old report at this point from 2008 called the Opaga Report, an investigation done to the impacts of public adjusting on insurance claims following the 2005 hurricane season. This report took quite a while for the industry to actually publish. Opaga, being an organization for the state of Florida that investigates consumer issues and issues reports and findings on it to help legislators make bills that become laws. And what that report showed is that with a public adjuster representing your interests from the onset of a loss, you will receive substantially more money, between $500 to $700 more. The dollar value differences were massive. You're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. And if you extrapolate that percentage, the 500 to 700% increase to multi-million-dollar claims, which GlobalPro tends to typically handle on behalf of community associations and business owners, you're talking about millions of dollars left on the table because they don't have representation from the onset of the loss. And those are important issues that we need to investigate. The dollar value impact, the positive impact that public adjusters, lawyers, and contractors have had. And are there bad actors? Absolutely. Just like there are many bad actor insurance agents. In fact, if you actually pull the fraud reports from the state of Florida or various other states throughout the country, one of the most prolific areas where they see fraud in insurance is on the agency side. The very people that are selling you in the insurance, they take the premiums, they don't actually bind the coverage, they overcharge you, they get kickbacks. I mean, banks were involved in this massive class action lawsuits, hundreds of millions of dollars that were paid back to victims where they were forced placing insurance. Again, nothing to do with representation of policyholders at the time of a loss. And when you look at losses and you look at the growing dissatisfaction amongst consumers, over 60% reported in value paying just about a year or two ago. You have over 105,000 complaints filed against insurance companies from the 2017 very active storm season till 2022 versus 100, less than 100 to be precise. It begs the question as to really what are they stomping out? Are they really stomping? Is this really making the market more attractive? Texas, Florida, Louisiana? I mean, look at the Louisiana market. They virtually made it impossible to provide for public adjusters to practice in those areas. But if you actually go still look at the litigation environment and you look at what's going on there, it hasn't done anything to curb it because the insurance companies continue to do the same thing. There's no accountability. Accountability is a big, tough word for insurance companies, what it seems like, to swallow or to stand up for. Where is the accountability? Where is this money going? Why? Like, for instance, I was doing a town hall meeting just last night, and they were asking about appraisals that were being used for the placement of insurance. And one of the things that I pointed out was that most appraisers that do insurance appraisals for community associations are certified as Marshall Swift appraisers. But one of the things I find most interesting about that is that the adjusters, well, first off, they're not certified or required to be certified in the use of the software systems or in their ability to be able to write actual estimates for your damages. Most of them are not. They're licensed to be adjusters. But if you go through the licensing process, they don't actually test your estimating skills, which isn't that a fundamentally important issue when dealing with loss and damage? And if the appraiser needed to be certified in order to provide you that certified appraisal, which is how they're going to charge you for your insurance and what you're going to pay for insurance, use it for that basis, why aren't the insurance companies' adjusters required to have some sort of certification themselves to demonstrate some sort of competency in being able to estimate your damages? It's not a requirement. You just have to comply with the licensing rules to get the license, which again requires almost no competency in being able to actually estimate damages. Now, I'm a licensed general contractor, I'm a licensed insurance agent, I'm a licensed public adjuster. I've been through engineering school. I pursued a master's actually in construction management through the civil engineering department at FIU. I have spent decades on job sites. I grew up in the construction business. I've done high-rise construction. I've done multifamily construction. I've done single-family. I continue to do it. We developed our own buildings. In fact, the very building I'm sitting in, I project managed with my staff at GlobalPro to build us a state-of-the-art facility to provide class-leading services to our clients, to policyholders that need proper representation. Why? Because I struggle with the competency of those that are actually managing claims and estimating the value of damages, which I believe feeds into this massive growing amount of dissatisfaction amongst consumers when dealing with insurance. And there's a lot to take from today's episode about this, and I'm saying all these things, and I again welcome anyone from the insurance industry to come on our show at Recovery Report Live and test your knowledge and skills. Tell me why I'm wrong, why there isn't an issue of accountability amongst insurance companies right now. And while we're looking to pass laws to disincentivize professionals from representing the interest of policyholders at the time of loss, why aren't we looking at the laws to hold our insurance companies more accountable? The Washington Post article that recently came out about the rampant fraud in Florida with regards to insurance companies slashing the benefits that are owed to policyholders. Clear evidence that insurance companies are engaging in some sort of fraud to deprive you of the benefits you're owed under your policy. And there's other investigations going on. The governor just announced that they will be doing additional investigations into the practices of insurance companies. Well, but to what end? I know right now the industry, FAPIA, Florida Association of Public Insurance Adjusting, is fighting a law that would give a policyholder more than a month to decide whether or not they want to continue with the representation. But at the same time, an insurance company has been given the opportunity, a 90-day opportunity to determine and can extend those periods of time if deemed reasonable to provide you a coverage determination. It really doesn't add up. In fact, I seldom see an insurance company deliver a credible estimate of your damages within a week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months following a loss such as Hurricane Ian may have caused to your property. Now, so I struggle with the idea that how is this protecting the consumers? Now, one of the legislators said that, well, it's these public adjusters that are running out and just flipping the cases to the attorney. We need to clamp down on that. Again, I beg of you, while you may perceive that as something wrong or bad, okay, you may perceive that as something wrong or bad, and I'm not going to even judge that behavior, because the point is that how does this drive up the cost of our insurance? But if you really dig deep into the insurance company's financials, and you look at a lot of these publicly traded companies who manage and run a lot of these reinsurance companies, who also own subsidiaries that sell retail products in the state of Florida, it doesn't really, to me, add up. 1 + 1 is not equaling 2. It's the numbers are staggering. The profits are enormous. They're reporting massive profits. Massively publicly traded companies are reporting huge profits through some of the toughest economic times. And again, a lot of these insurers have interest or operate or wholly own a lot of the reinsurers that, again, sell insurance to the insurance companies in the state of Florida, who also happen to have some sort of interest or are a subsidiary of those same companies. Again, it's go fact check me, please. And you will find that there, again, more of the reason why we're seeing these issues with premiums and costs as associated with our insurance environment here in Florida or in Texas, Louisiana, or many of these other states in the United States that are seeing record high costs for insurance. A lot of the driver of that is economic issues. They've made investments in real estate. In fact, insurance companies, if you go look at their investments in real estate, it's massive. So when you're having issues in the real estate market, prices are coming down, why don't we look to see where they've put that money, the premium dollars that they've used to make a spread on what it is that they're receiving in exchange for that insurance product, and look to those investments and look at the economic impacts of those. And I don't believe that the few bad actors in any one of these industries is what's actually contributing to the financial woes of admitted insurers in the state of Florida. I don't believe that any of the changes, in fact, the legislators that passed, that pushed for the passing of the more recent legislation that clamped down on attorneys' fees and contractors, and now they're negotiating a new law for public adjusters. All of them admitted soon after passing the ones for contractors and attorneys that told consumers right after it, don't expect any savings. One said 18 months. I honestly, I talk to insurance company friends that sit on the other side of the table frequently from us, and I ask them, do you really think in 18 months we're going to see any sort of positive impact? And they said, absolutely not, unless there's some sort of incentive program for these insurance companies to come here. And isn't the idea of holding these insurers more accountable and actually disclosing sort of financial information? Where are the auto reports and other things that were supposed to go on? If you go start to fact check some of these stuff, you will have a hard time keeping all of these things in line and understanding all of it, because there's so much information and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Now, how to deal with some of these things? Well, get yourself some representation. Make sure that you understand what you're actually buying when placing insurance. When you suffer a loss, how could you possibly, as a board member or a property manager or an operator of a business that may even have investors or not, how could you possibly think that in today's market, you're advantaging yourself by not having representation? And the insurance company doesn't represent you. Your broker doesn't represent you in the adjustment of a claim. They don't. They don't, and I don't know why so many people think that they do. They don't. They can certainly give you copies of your policy, answer some questions you may have, but they're not going to come out to your property and adjust your claim on your behalf. And that's the reality of it. So without proper representation and the need for representation, and if the growing amount of complaints is true, we see a growing amount of dissatisfaction and over 100,000 complaints filed in the same period of time where there was less than 100 against public adjusters. We need to sit back and ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Again, the same legislators that passed laws more recently, just last year, regarding curbing one-way attorney's fees and contractor assignment of benefits. Again, the same legislators came out and say, you're not going to see savings any time in the near future. In fact, one said, maybe 18 months. But we're going to go through 2 more storm seasons and additional economic changes and all these other things. So again, is that a factual statement, or is that just simply a statement made to try to kind of just buy time? I think so. I don't think it's helping you all in any way. In fact, I think supporting the initiatives of insurance companies, particularly foreign companies right now, is so anti-American, so anti-business. It actually disgusts me when you look at actually what's going on and the lack of accountability for a lot of these insurers. So with that being said, we want to make sure that we continue to provide you information you can use. We are celebrating 11 years of making sure that your rights are being protected. Whether you're placing insurance or recovering from loss, we are the steel that holds it all together. That's what that represents, 11 years of hard work, working for policyholders, making sure that you have information you can use. That's why we rolled out this show several years ago, to make sure that, again, you have the information you need. But there's so many other resources on our website. And if you haven't checked them out, go ahead on globalpro.com. It's pretty easy. You'll see a resource section right over there. Hit the Contact Us button. Call us, message us, DM us on Instagram. Send us a message on Facebook. We're on all your social media, and if you haven't already, like us and follow us on every single one of those outlets, because you want to make sure that you're having up-to-the-minute information. And in the coming weeks or months, we're going to be talking about the legislation and the decisions that were being made and how it's going to impact you. Tomorrow, we are joined by everyone at the Latin Builders Association on the floor of the expo. For all those that are tuning in, that are hearing this show, we hope to see you there. We're going to be doing live broadcasts. We're going to be pulling people in to our own very own micro little fireside chats to talk about important issues that are impacting the construction industry, whether it's insurance, land, cost, price, real estate, economic, whatever it may be. We want to hear from our guests at the Latin Builders Association Expo show. So check us out. Go find us. We're right by the actual fireside chat that's going to be going on. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be on the main stage, and then I'll be on the fireside chat later in that day. Starting at 10 o'clock, we hit the stage. I can't wait to get into some of all these important issues. A lot of stuff that we talked about here today. I'm going to expand on it. I'm going to give some more information. So whatever you do, like us, subscribe to us. Make sure you're here every single week on the Recovery Report Live, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. See you same place, same time, right here on the Recovery Report Live.